hit some anytime goal scorers as well as safe shots on goal for some of these goalies. Give me both teams to score in the first period. That's coming in at plus 185 compared to the over 1.5 that is at minus 120. Okay, you guys ready? Let's make some frickin' money. It's time for Puck It with Jo. Happy Friday, everyone. Jo here with SportsGrid. It's time for Puck It with Jo over here on SportsGrid TV on X as well as YouTube. I hope everyone's had a fantastic week. I can't believe it is already Friday. We've got game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and I can't wait for this puck to drop. Now, game 1 was absolutely intense. We did see Leon Draisaitl open and close that game with the overtime winning goal as well as the opening goal for the Edmonton Oilers. Now, the Florida Panthers did come out strong after that first goal. Florida was able to score 2 goals within, 80 seconds to take the 2-1 lead in the first period, which is not what I wanted. I did expect Edmonton to need to win that first period to be able to get the win, but we did get the exact score, 4-3. We got the over 3.5 goals for the Edmonton Oilers and the overtime bet. So it definitely was a great night out there on the ice. Edmonton was able to convert on the power play in overtime. Costly mistake out there by the Florida Panthers, shooting that puck up and over into the stands. So 4-3 win for the Edmonton Oilers game 1. Good morning, you guys. Great to see you here today. Glad the River and Lisa, I have missed seeing your name pop up in the comments. So great to see you back here today. You guys, if you can do me a solid, hit that like, hit that refresh. No, don't hit the refresh button. That's what I was doing over on FanDuel to make sure all of my odds are up to date. Hit that like, hit that retweet, and hit that subscribe button. Don't hit the refresh button here. We're going to start looking at these odds, looking at game 2. So the odds on FanDuel right now, refreshed and everything, we got a total of 6.5. Now the 6.5 is juiced to the under today at minus 128, plus 104 to the over. We know the last game did hit that over in overtime, giving us a 7 goals. So if you do believe this one plays out very similar, then you'd look at the over 6.5. I just can't get there with the over 6.5. But do I want to take an under 6.5 and lay the juice in this series? No, I absolutely don't. I do think we got a lower scoring game, and I think if you really want to push it, you want that total under 5.5. I do think this is probably a 2-2 style of game headed into overtime again. So the under 5.5, I do think is in play. If we don't have a 2-2, I think it's a 3-2 finish. So I am looking for that under 5.5 to cash. If you hold it to under 5.5, you will get great plus money, which is a scary situation with both of these teams. We know the firepower on both sides. So I'm cautious with that total. You guys, not my favorite bet. So let's jump in to where these teams are looking for a side for a price over on FanDuel, and then we'll start breaking down what we saw in game 1 and where we're going to go. So the Florida Panthers currently are minus 105 on the money line. We do have the Edmonton Oilers a minus 114 favorite. Now, we know in that last game, we were getting Florida a very similar price, but we are having to pay minus 130, 135 for the Edmonton Oilers. So we have seen a shift in that price there for Edmonton. Now, looking at game 1, what did we see in game 1? Yes, we saw the Florida Panthers go up 2-1 in the first period. We also saw a strong second period out of both of these teams, both teams being able to score a goal. Now, we did see this is with the game 1 win by the Edmonton Oilers. It did snap a 31-0 record for the Florida Panthers under Coach Paul Maurice after the first or second period when they were leading, losing the game. So they normally win those games when leading after the first and second period. They just weren't able to get it done and close things out. And this is one thing that Edmonton team is able to do. They never say die in these games. They're able to make those big pushes in that third. So that was something we did see. We saw Florida win 56.4% of those faceoffs, so they controlled the game of play. Now, they did spend too much time in the box. They allowed Edmonton 4 opportunities in the box. The only goal did come on that power play conversion in overtime. So while they had a strong kill here for Florida, they need to play smarter. They can't take all of these penalties. And for themselves, they went 1 and 2 on the power play, able to convert on one of their opportunities. that overtime, that power play goal coming nicely for them. And Sam Bennett, Brad Marchand, really strong. Sam Bennett was able to get 2 goals in that last game. When we look at physicality, both the same physicality-wise, 51 hits by both. This is a scrappy series between them. I do like the block shot market. You guys know that. We saw 19 block shots for the Florida Panthers, 21 for the Edmonton Oilers. As you saw, these guys just put their bodies continuously in front of the puck. Now, what we also saw was the shots on goal just piling in. We got Bobrovsky over his number. We altered it up to 28 plus save shots on goal. Now, we didn't get Skinner's. And when you look at the record, 29 save shots on goal, I altered him up to 27 plus. It didn't come in reg. So if you took his base number, I believe his base number was 24 or 23 and a half. You got the base number in reg, but you didn't get the ulted numbers. So I'm cautious with Skinner today. I'm not going to touch his props, but we did see 32 shots on goal out of the Florida Panthers, 46 out of the Edmonton Oilers, 36 of those coming in reg. So 28 plus save shots for Bobrovsky. Nicely cashed for that plus money for us. And then 26 shots on net in reg for Florida and 26 shots in reg and then 32 in total. So that is where we saw those shots on goal, those block goals were coming in. The Panthers spent too much time in their zone. They allowed Edmonton to be in their zone, getting those shots on Bobrovsky. So there's a couple things they need to fix. They can't take the penalties. They can't allow Edmonton to be in their zone 80% of this game. And I know it wasn't 80%. It just felt like a heck of a lot. Like if you look down, you went and grabbed a drink, you came back, they were just always in Florida's zone. So, which was good for us because we had Edmonton to get the win, but it was something Florida really needs to clean up. Looking at what we saw out of the Edmonton Oilers, because I wasn't like overly impressed by Florida. Yes, Florida came out strong. First period, they played solid in the second. The third period, I really don't know what happened to the Florida Panthers, and that's no disrespect for the Edmonton Oilers. Just Florida just didn't look as gelled out there on the ice as I would have liked to see it. I don't know if fatigue is starting to wear on this team and having to go to overtime in that last game. It's going to be hard on this team's bodies. We know they've been so physical during the whole playoffs. So Edmonton was the faster team out there. They were able to skate around them. And we know that because of the playmakers out there. And when we look at those playmakers, Connor McDavid unable to get us that goal, but he did get 2 assists. Now I wrote him for the series, 14 plus points in the series to break Wayne Gretzky's Stanley Cup final point numbers. So we're needing 12 more points for Connor McDavid. He had 4 shots on goal in the last game. Evan Bouchard coming out just firing that puck from the blue line. 7 shots on goal in the last game, and I do think you circle him to net 1 tonight. Evan Bouchard to find that back of the net. He had 1 assist in the last game. Now, Wallman came out strong. 5 shots on goal for him, 1 assist. Ryan Nugent, Hopkins, unable to register a point, but 3 shots for him on that top line with Connor McDavid and Corey Perry. Leon Draisaitl, 2 goals, 4 shots on goal. So it was a really solid performance out of all of these lines there for the Edmonton Oilers. I was impressed, but I do think the series gets tied up tonight. I do think this is a lower scoring game in which Bobrovsky again stands on his head. I'm going to look for Bobrovsky over 25 and a half save shots on goal coming in at plus 100. We know the Edmonton Oilers fire and fire away. And yes, that blue line has to give more support. And I'm not going to alt the numbers because of that. I do think we're going to get more support, more block shots by the Florida Panthers, and they won't allow Edmonton to spend as much time in their zone tonight. So give me Bobrovsky over 25 and a half save shots on goal at plus 100. Edmonton is averaging that 33.6 shots on goal per game. I'm going to stay off Skinner's props in this one. We know Skinner has been very erratic with either being hot or completely cold out there. I do think Skinner has a cold game during this series, and I think Bob has a cold game during this series. So not really giving the hate to Skinner here. I'm just not touching his prop tonight. I do think with Florida down, Bobrovsky knows he can stand on his head. He stood in his head in the last game, you guys. He saved 42 shots on his goal, and then Skinner saving 29. So I do think the volume has to go down here for Edmonton. Florida has to make sure they're not allowing Bobrovsky to be absolutely peppered. Otherwise, we will see Edmonton win this, in a 7-2 style game. We're going to fly over the total. Edmonton's going to dominate if they allow that many shots. This goaltender all goaltenders, they can't withstand those shots continuously each and every night. So defensively, Florida needs to step up. I'm going to look for Florida to get the win. At minus 104, I do think Florida has every ability to win. I was always expecting this to be a back and forth, give and go kind of series between these two, going deep all the way 2-7 with Edmonton hoisting the cup at the end. I predicted the 4-3 win for the Edmonton Oilers in this series. And I still think, Florida, such a solid road team that we can't deny what they're able to do, and Paul Maurice's abilities to make those adjustments out there on the ice. So I'm looking for Florida to bounce back. But you guys, one thing I will be doing is I'm going to be hedging my bet. If Florida is able to come out and get 2 goals in that first period, quickly hit Skinner, I will be looking to come back on the Edmonton Oilers, either +1.5 if I'm getting plus money on that puck line, or straight up on the money line just to hedge things out a little bit here. And I don't love hedging, but you look at these two teams. These two teams are going to be playing these tight battles. I do believe these majority of ththese games in the series are going to be 1-goal games. I think we have possibility in each and every single one of them to go to overtime. So if Florida goes up 2-0, we know they had the collapse in the third in the last game. If you came in on Edmonton, you are able to get Edmonton up +650 to +700 on some books when Florida went up. So definitely always looking at that live betting market. If you are around, you got your TV on watching the game, make sure you do check out In-Game Live tonight. It will be Scott Wetzel and Dave Sharapan, I believe, at In-Game Live, and they will be keeping you up to date with everything happening out there, not only on the ice, but out there on the diamonds as well. But listening to that, checking that out, where they're going to jump in with their money because of the overreaction in the books and what you're able to get. So definitely always something we want to look at. For myself, though, going into this game, let's get back into where I'm going to go. I told you I'm going to take Florida. I do think their 5-on-5 style of play, if they stay out the box, they get that defense really going so much stronger. They have the ability to win. Bobrovsky over his save shots on goal, 25.5, +100. You're getting +100. And then the Oilers are averaging that 33.6. I think that number comes down today. I expect, 30 shots on Bobrovsky's net. 26, he can save 27, only 3 goals out of Edmonton. At the very worst case scenario, we hit Bob and Edmonton wins, because I do think this is a 2-2 game going to overtime, or a 3-2 in regulation for Florida. I really do think Florida can win this. So I did a couple things here, and you guys know I love that plus money and that plus money. We got it last night with the Pacers. I hope you guys bet the Pacers with me. Everyone thinking I was on. Basically, I had lots of comments like, what was I smoking? How many glasses of wine have you drank this early in the morning? You guys, the Pacers had to get a win in game 1. There was no way they could go down in that series in the first game and not get swept. That was my opinion anyway. So the Pacers showed up, Tyrese Halliburton. It was a fantastic game, but let's get back to the ice. Where am I going to go? Okay, I do think this has the possibility of going to overtime 2-2. If you take the overtime bets coming in at +330, I've put a quarter unit on all of these, okay? So quarter unit on the overtime at +330. I put a quarter unit on Florida to win this 3-2 at +1,300. I put a quarter unit on this game to be tied 2-2 apiece at +1,200 at the end of regulation. So then it doesn't matter who wins in OT. And then I put a quarter unit on the tie 3-3 at +1,300 in case we see the same thing as the last game and we get a couple more goals than I'm expecting in regulation. I can't see this going 4-4 into OT. We could see one of these teams finish it up 3-2. And I do think that would be Florida. That's why I've got that 3-2 bet. If you want to take another bet for a little sprinkle, I would look at Edmonton 4-2, because if it's not that 2-2 bet, it's a 3-2 style game. I think it would be Edmonton who gets the empty netter and wins this one in a 4-2 style. So the only way I see it going 4-2 is if Edmonton wins. I could see it being 3-3 for either teams going to overtime. I could see the 3-2 in regulation for Florida and the overtime at 2-2. So that's where I'm going with those bets. Quarter unit on each. I probably will now throw in a quarter unit on Edmonton 4-2 as well. You're getting so much great plus money on all of these bets. Don't put a full unit on each, because, well, if you got, 3-2 for Florida at +1,300, and that was in overtime, and the 2-2, then you're getting that at 330 for the 2-2 overtime, and plus 1300 for the 3-2 Florida win. So there's a lot of things you can play around with that. Again, I expect this to stay under 5.5. I'm looking at that out total under 5.5, and for a big game out of all of these guys defensively. The last 4 meetings between these two teams have been 1-goal games. It will be something I will be looking to hedge again, coming back in on a team if they go down by a couple goals, either plus the 1.5, depending on the flow of game, or on the money line. And again, I remind you guys, stay tuned to In-Game Live, because the guys over there will be going over this game and where they're going to go with their money. I'll try to post something on X if I'm jumping in one way or another, but sometimes I get too excited watching these games. So let's look at your comments and we'll do the recap. You guys, lots of you in. Irish King, good to see you here this morning. You guys, I really appreciate each and every one of you for jumping in here. Rodriguez for the power play point again. Yeah, how can you deny Rodriguez coming in here at plus 475? I do think the Florida Panthers will get those opportunities, and Rodriguez has proven to be nice and strong out there. Hall, yeah, good luck to everyone. Connor McDavid for the anytime goal. I really hope he's able to get it. You guys also know I'm riding for the series. So Irish King, I'm not going to take it for this game. I am riding Connor McDavid for the series for 6+ or 7+ goal. I think I've got 7+ goals at plus 2,600. I got to check my ticket there. But I took him for a big number for plus 2,600 for a long shot. So I'll stay off Connor McDavid, but Connor McDavid has to be the driving force of this team. And I do think it's a solid bet for him to get that goal. In that last game, he was able to get 2 assists, 4 shots on goal. So you would expect one of those to convert. I love Matthew Tkachuk to come out nice and strong for his team in this game. Matthew Tkachuk for the anytime goal, I think, is a great way for the series. I do have Matthew Tkachuk for 3+ goals in the series at plus like 3 and change. So I definitely like where you're going with that, but I've already got a ticket on the 3+, so I'll stay off. If you guys are on YouTube, under this video here in the description, it will have my series bets. So make sure you do check that out if you're looking to jump in on anything extra into the series. Now, the odds will have changed based on what has already happened. And some of those you're going to get better value, because like Matthew Tkachuk didn't get a goal in the last game. So now Matthew Tkachuk for the 3+ goals is going to get you better than 3 and change. It's probably 4 and change or 5 and change for your money. So always a good way to look. Any thoughts on Toronto and Montreal? Yeah, Cody, we're going to have a CFL Cup of Joe, so make sure you don't miss out on that. But we're riding with the Montreal Alouettes to come out and steamroll over the Argos. The Argos just won't be that same team defensively, and I think Montreal is going to have a huge game. I'm looking for that pick 6. We weren't able to get it for the Saskatchewan Roughriders yesterday, but we got their team total over 27.5. It was a great day. We were also unable to get that outline because the Red Blacks came out and they got the backdoor cover there. We almost had laying the 9.5. So CFL Cup of Joe will be out right after this. Make sure you guys do stay tuned to that. We'll do a CFL Cup of Joe every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday when we do have those CFL games. If we have a Monday game, there's always a Labor Day game. We will have the Monday Cup of Joe in the CFL. Actually, I'm not calling it a Cup of Joe. It's just let's talk some CFL, just like last year. We are going to get the Cup of Joes rolling out there on the diamonds as well. Yeah, go Canucks. Okay. I am so glad, Blake, that you cashed in your baseball. So that is good to hear. I love hearing about you guys cashing. Matthew, 2-point. Reinhart, anytime goal. I love Sam Reinhart to come out here and get an anytime goal. He's actually one of the guys that I didn't take in the series. I'm looking at Sam Reinhart to probably convert on the power play today. We know Sam Reinhart really did dominate on the power play last season, being so strong on the power play this season as well. And I do think that conversion could come from him today. Oilers money line or puck line, Jamie. If you're looking at the Oilers, I would take a shot on that puck line. I think if the Oilers win this, they win under a 4-2 style. on that puck line and cover it. But I do think Florida ends up winning it, tying up this series today. I do think, again, live betting these situations will be good. Toronto alt spread plus 6.5 at -145. Yeah, I don't hate the alt spread at all. So I like where you're going with that. I love alting spreads, especially when you're still not having to lay juice, not happening. Upset alert. Okay, you're rolling with the Argos to roll in strong. I just don't know if I trust the Argos. And I look here at Davis Alexander coming out for the Montreal Alouettes. I think he's going to have a really solid performance. The defensive touchdown, the pick six could come into play. Both of these teams have the ability to turn over the ball. I don't trust Nick Arbuckle, so you guys, that's some CFL talk. We will have a CFL. Let's talk some CFL video coming out right away. So stay tuned for that. We did cash on Saskatchewan's team total yesterday. Recap time, you guys. You guys are absolute freakingly the best. I love how you guys jump into chat with everything you got rolling out there. So let's make some freaking money. Drop your best bets of the day so everyone can get on board with you. The Florida Panthers versus the Edmonton Oilers, game number 2, best bet recap. Give me the Florida Panthers here on the money line, but I won't be adverse to coming back in either on Florida or Edmonton if we get that big swing in the first period where one team goes up 2-0. I do think live betting hedging this game is going to be fantastic because I'm looking for a 1-goal game. So coming back in on a team plus 1.5 or straight up on the money line to hedge a little there, I think will be a solid betting opportunity tonight. Give me Bobrovsky over 25.5 safe shots on goal at plus 100. No alting him today. We're going to stay with that base number. I do think this is a game that has a possibility of going to overtime. Also has a possibility of a couple different things. So I'm going to put a quarter of a unit on it, or you could put a fifth. I've got 5 bets now. So either a fifth or a quarter, depending on what you want. I don't put a couple units on each of these bets. I'm going to take the overtime bet at plus 330. I'm expecting a 2-2 style game going into OT. So alting the total 6.5 to under 5.5. I think is solid but terrifying with these two teams, right? So I'm going to do the overtime at plus 330. I'm going to do Florida exact score 3-2 at plus 1,300. I'm going to do the tie after regulation 2-2 at plus 1,200. I'm going to do the tie just in case at 3-3 at plus 1,300 in reg. And then I'm going to look at the Edmonton 4-2 win in reg because I do think if Edmonton wins this, they cover that puck line, but I'm expecting Florida to get the win here. It's going to be a great day out there on the ice. I'd look at Sam Reinhart for that power play goal today, so you could just look at him at the power play point. There's no denying what Sam Bennett has been able to do, so maybe Reinhart and Bennett and Tkachuk parlayed for a point together because I do think it's Florida's day. And then if you're looking at the Edmonton Oilers, I do think Evan Bouchard gets on the board today, 7 shots on goal in the last game. I'm not going to deny Connor McDavid, but I already have him in series bets, and I just don't want to jump back in on him. And then Leon Draisaitl, we know he opened the scoring and closed the scoring in the last game. So you guys, it's going to be a fantastic night out there on the ice. Enjoy game number 2, and we'll see you back here. When is the next game, you guys? I believe it is Monday down in Florida. So we have the whole weekend off, but don't be worried. We've got baseball, we've got CFL, we've got the NBA. So stay tuned for everything on YouTube, on X, my Cup of Joes, my Madden Quickies. It is all there for you guys for the taking. So if you're missing the show, just check those out. You guys are absolutely the best. We'll see you back here. Have a safe and happy weekend. See you on Monday for another Puck with Joe for game number 3. Hit some anytime goal scorers as well as safe shots on goal for some of these goalies. Give me both teams to score in the first period. That's coming in at plus 185 compared to the over 1.5 that is at minus 120. Okay, you guys ready? Let's make some frickin' money. It's time for Puck It with Joe.